Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Starting a new week, Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, coming up here. But we do have a lot to break down in the world of the NBA. Joining me, as always, is Keith Smith. Find him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. You can find me at Trevor_Lane. Keith, let's just start right into it. LeBron James and Isaiah Stewart. What a mess that was. You and I were texting a little bit during that whole situation. Man, that was rough. That hopefully that is the worst altercation we see in the NBA for the season. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But I think there's going to be some added punishments coming down from the NBA pretty soon here.
Yeah, I think so too. There's folks on both sides, fans and coaches, who are like, that's it. Shouldn't be anything for our guy, the guy they're coaching or rooting for. And I think everybody's wrong. I think there's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised just because of the nature of LeBron. It was a blow to the face. It drew blood. It wouldn't be a surprise if there was a game. A lot of times a flagrant 2 comes with a game suspension attached to it. We can get into inadvertent, intentional, what that kind of discrepancy is there. And then Isaiah Stewart's he has to get a minimum of a game, just when you're restrained. And then there was the part where I think it was right before they finally got him off the court. It was like you could see everybody was like, all right, you're done, like you're calmed down now. And then we don't know if something was yelled at him or whatever, but something set him back off, and he tore through. That's the one where I don't know if you saw, because it's the internet, somebody set it to the Stone Cold entrance.
I did see music. That. In fact, Chris the Masterpiece Masters sent me that because he thought it was so funny, and I was like, okay, it makes sense, Chris. That this would be the one that you would love. But
so that was, and then when it came out after that, Corey Joseph, they allowed him to go around behind the Lakers bench, which there was a question of like, what is going on there? And Scott Foster and the officiating crew agreed. They were like, yeah, go over there. Because Corey Joseph was like, he might try to come around the backside of the tunnel here, which I don't know how many people know. Like, there's usually it's connected behind, between where the 2 locker rooms are, and most arenas, almost all of them. I think
can't think of any that aren't.
Is that way? And and that was and then that situation was a whole thing there too. So my guess is we'll find out sometime probably later today. It's about 11:45 here on the East Coast. It's usually early afternoon with this, because I want to get that handed out if there's going to be any further punishments. I don't know. I know the Lakers don't play till tomorrow, Tuesday. I don't know about the Pistons. I'll look that up.
While you're looking that up, there was certainly some concern there that he was going to come back around. Or there's the kind of meet in the hallway type of situation too that we've seen play out before in the past. There's also the secret tunnel between the Clippers locker room and the Rockets locker room, right? At Staples Center. There's that type of thing that can play out too once the guys get back there. But obviously, if anything happened by the locker rooms, we would have heard about that by now. So hopefully everything was fine there. But you're right. I mean, there's different
And the Pistons, just to close the loop on that, the Pistons do play Tuesday night as well. So both teams, neither Lakers or Pistons are playing tonight. Monday night, both teams play on Tuesday. So we'll definitely get something today, if there's going to be a suspension. This is my guess, because they usually try to do it a day in advance, so that way the teams can prepare
game day. We were joking about before we came on here. It's going to come down the second we stop recording. That's when it's going to get announced. The NBA is, I'm sure, monitoring 100%. Us very, very closely. And so as soon as we stop recording, that's when they're going to announce what the extra punishment will be. But I mean, look, you look at both coaches kind of presented it in their own light, right? Frank Vogel called it inadvertent contact, said he was trying to get his arm off of him, swung through and hit him. And that was my initial interpretation of what had happened. But again, I'm not an unbiased source in this situation. I'm not an unbiased viewer, because it's the Lakers, right? So that has to be taken into account. But in any event, that's the way Frank Vogel portrayed it, as LeBron was trying to get his arm, Stewart's arm off of him, and swung through and inadvertently, accidentally, essentially caught him in the face. Now, he caught him hard. I mean, I saw one place say 5 stitches, another place say 8 stitches, but regardless of how many stitches it was, I mean, he was bleeding. It was not good. Did not look good. And then Stewart. I mean, look, Dwayne Casey classified it as failing to leave the court in a timely manner. That's what he called what he was doing. That was beyond that. There was a moment there where the thought entered my head that they're not going to be able to stop him. The guys who were attempting to stop him, especially on that final attempt, the trainers and team personnel and stuff are half his size. I thought this is going to take players. This is going to take players to tackle this guy, to stop him. It was certainly a scary moment. You saw Cade Cunningham actually reach around and lock his arms around Stewart's waist in an attempt just to slow him down. A couple of different team personnel were knocked to the floor trying to get a hold of him. And so that's certainly a bad look for the NBA, particularly with it being in Detroit. So, and I've heard a bunch of reports that have come out afterwards saying Stewart is actually a great guy, does a bunch of great things in the community and stuff like that, that he just lost his head for a minute, and that's fine. But I think there are still going to be some repercussions, probably, again, on both sides. Like you said, a flagrant 2 very rarely winds up as just, okay, well, you can still play next game.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's talk about both players here, because I've seen a lot of like, this guy's a nobody, he's just trying to go viral because it's LeBron. He's not a nobody. Isaiah Stewart is a good player. He's been a good player for a season plus now, because he's in his second year, but he's into his second year being a pretty good player. He's a first round draft pick. Like, he can play. He's not a nobody. I get it, the Pistons are bad. They were bad last year, they're bad this year. A lot of people probably aren't watching them, but he's not a nobody. He's not just some dude who's out there. He's also not plays very hard. He plays very aggressive, but he's not a dirty player. He's not somebody who's overly physical or anything like that. I kind of compare him to Montrezl Harrell. A little bit in the style that they play with. It's very aggressive around the basket. There's some violence in the game, as far as just when they dunk it hard. They go to the basket hard. They rip down rebounds hard, all that stuff. And people, I think, are getting a misconception because they're seeing him. He got tangled up with Blake Griffin, which, in my opinion, Blake Griffin was as much the instigator there as but now I'm going to say Montrezl Harrell, as Isaiah Stewart was. So I don't like that. Like, that's that. And then on LeBron's side, there's a lot of things you can say about LeBron James. Calling him a dirty player, I don't think that's one of them. I don't like. There was a point in time when he was on the Heat where I very much felt Dwayne Wade was the dirty player there, because that was where you'd see Dwayne Wade do the kind of those cross body checks in the lane and those kind of things. But it's not LeBron. Now, I think this is just my complete opinion on this. I think there was frustration all around from the Lakers in that game, because quite frankly, they were playing poorly at the time that happened. And then I think LeBron was frustrated too. Stewart certainly leaned into him pretty hard on that box out. And I don't think by any means LeBron intended to, I'm going to hit him in the face with my hand bust him open and split him open. There was no way that was his intention. Now, it's when a guy grabs a rebound and he comes up swinging his elbows. No, your intention is not to catch somebody in the face with it. But if it happens, that's what happens. That's what I felt like, is I'm going to swing hard here. My intention is not this, but that was the end result. And I think the refs got it right. The ejection was absolutely warranted. And then I have no issue with Stewart, right? We've all been there. You taste a little bit of your own blood, and then it just does something, right? It kind of sets you off. And I think he was right to an extent of like, hey, now I'm like, I realize how bad I'm bleeding. I'm going to go after guys. That's not the end of the world. Then it just all went too far after that. And then, Russell Westbrook, I mean, you can miss me with the whole, I got a technical in that. Dude, you were yelling and screaming stuff across, like 40 guys in between you. Like, of course you're going to get a technical for, escalating things there. Like, what are you
the referees did classify him as an escalator in that situation. And he was in shock about this. He didn't even realize he had gotten a technical foul, but yeah, come on, Russ.
And maybe right, we've all seen those situations too, where sometimes guys, they don't know what they're saying in those types of situations, and maybe that's what happened there. But yeah, I think it was unfortunate. I don't like how some people are now saying like LeBron's been doing this stuff for years. He has, because I've never seen it. Like I've never seen it. There's a lot of guys you can say that about for sure. I think it was an unfortunate situation that went way too far. And I think too, the NBA, they don't like
No,
this stuff either. They hate these kind of things. That's why it usually tends to be punished a little bit harder. So my guess is it's probably going to be a game for LeBron, a game or two for Isaiah Stewart, and then we move on till they play in like a week from now in Los Angeles, where I'm sure Isaiah Stewart is going to get nothing but a nice warm
I'm sure.
welcome when they play the
Well, and
Lakers.
that was, yeah, my issue with what happened with Isaiah Stewart was the initial action. I can see him being fired up and being angry, but after
Yeah,
that stops, and this happened twice, it stopped, and then he went
yeah,
again, and then it stopped again, and he told everybody something to the effect of, "I'm good, I'm fine, it's over." And then he went
and
again.
then he went
He
back.
had he
Yeah,
had time to
yeah,
compose himself and think, and then still made the choice to continue going. So that's where I think the NBA will come down a little bit harsher on him, or at least there'll be additional fines. And compared to Dwayne Casey saying, "Oh, it was just he didn't leave the court in a timely manner," like there's a
sure.
bit more to it than that.
Yeah, Jordan Casey and Frank Vogel. I mean, good job, right? You had your guys
Yes.
back, but all that's happening is for both sides there. General fans of the sport and fans of the other 29 teams on both sides there are laughing at them and being like, come on, you're being
Yeah.
ridiculous, because but that's what you do, right? As a
Mhm.
coach, it's, it's kind of like I always say with, if I ever need a character witness in a trial, I want it to be my
Right.
mom, because my mom's going to be like, he's a good boy. He doesn't do those things. Right. So it turns into, that kind of situation. But yeah, it's just, yeah, let's see. Yeah, well, like we said, we'll find out the minute this comes down. So don't come back and yell at us and call us dumb for not talking about the punishment, because it's going to
It's
happen after we're done
right. The
recording.
second we hit stop, that's when it's going to happen. A couple things
Yep.
from
Yep.
the Warriors just to move on here. Draymond Green wants to be the Defensive Player of the Year again, and I think that's it. Look, I'm not saying he's going to win it, but for Draymond, that's the right mindset for him to have on this
Yep.
Warriors team.
And he is
Yeah,
playing great. He's playing
he's been
unbelievable.
playing great. So if I'm a Warriors fan, I'm saying yes, that's exactly where your head should be at right now, Draymond. You should be doing all of that kind of stuff and letting everything else fall in where it may. Because look, the Warriors have plenty of scoring. They've got great things going on there. You're going to have Klay Thompson, who we're going to get to in a minute, coming back. And if he is in that mindset of I want to be the best defender in the NBA, that's my goal this season, I think that's going to help the Warriors out a lot in terms of furthering their team goal.
Yeah, he is playing kind of the peak
Yeah.
Draymond level again. He's playing great defense, facilitating, rebounding. He's not doing a lot of scoring, but that's not what he did when they're at their height. And it's getting lost fairly because Stephen Curry is playing unreal. Probably the MVP right
Oh yeah.
now, if we were picking
The odds-on favorite.
an MVP this early. Yeah, he's playing great, but I think he has been so good. That's what's getting lost a little bit in this is Andrew Wiggins is playing really well. 19 points per game. He's up around 50% shooting from the floor. He's just over 36% from three. And then our guy, Jordan Poole, after a slow start, he's coming on. He had a monster game last game. So now all of a sudden, this Warriors team, it's like, even if Klay Thompson is like just a really good spot up shooter, that alone is scary. That you're going to add that to this team that is playing so well. And then even if James Wiseman is a 10-minute a night defense energy big off your bench that can just kind of make some rim runs, do some shot blocking and those kind of things, that again, kind of scary that's what they're going to add to this team here in pretty short order. Like they are really good. Like I keep saying they're not the 70-win Warriors, and I don't believe they are, but I'm kind of buying into, I think this team is for real a title contender as long as they stay healthy with their main guys.
Agreed. I think that they legitimately are. And speaking of Klay Thompson, he has maybe been cleared to practice. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
The report was that he'd been cleared to practice, but Steve Kerr said he had no idea about any of that. So you would,
Steve Kerr kind of said that's news to me. Like, thanks that somebody let me know. Now that could just be, being coy and that, but yeah, it's
But bottom line, Klay Thompson is on the comeback trail. We're still expecting him maybe sometime around Christmas or so, something like that. It's not like, okay, he's cleared to practice, quick, throw him in a game. They're going to give him time to get his legs under him and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to be sooner rather than later. We're not talking about March here that he's going to be coming back. Like, it's going to be weeks, not months. And so that's exciting.
Sorry, I was on mute because I was typing. Yes, you are correct. I was answering a question from somebody about basketball. So it was at least basketball related. I didn't get completely distracted.
You can't give us your full attention here, Keith. Really?
I know. I'm sorry. I apologize. Shiny object distracted me. It was an easy question to answer, and then of course I turned it into a longer.
I should have. I didn't. I wasn't looking at your video at the time. I would have just kept talking and gone into some more stuff. But I threw it.
That's all right. You were doing what you should be doing, which is looking at the camera, and I was staring down at my keyboard while I was trying to type around my microphone. So, all right, I'm back. I'm good. I'm locked in.
Well, we only have one more thing on this segment here of the show. Let's talk about Ben Simmons. I don't think this is Simmons siren worthy, but we're hearing now that Ben Simmons, the 76ers, might be willing to go into next season in order to get this Ben Simmons deal done eventually. It just drags on. Again, December 15th, that's the big date right now that we're waiting for other players around the NBA to become trade eligible, guys who signed contracts this last offseason. But Ben Simmons, still a 76er for now. We're still kind of in this standoff. Mental health reasons, part of why he hasn't been playing. The 76ers going back to fining him. Rich Paul saying that the fines are making everything worse. And around we go.
Yeah, it's no real update beyond the maybe taking it the full year. That part is a little interesting. The other thing is Kyle Neubeck, a Philadelphia-based beat reporter, has come out and said that Jeremy Grant is not one of the players on their list of 30 players, and that there's no interest from the Sixers side there. So it's funny because I saw a thread over on the Real GM message boards. I was looking at a couple things, and if you go to their main page, it'll show you the top threads, and it kind of was like, I think the title was something like, so who are the 30? And it was interesting to look at it and see like all the, like, they were trying to come up with the consensus 30 players and that. It was kind of fun. So maybe that's a game we need to play a little later here of like, who are the 30 players on the Sixers list, and try to come up with a consensus here. Hey, I want to do one quick thing before we close this out, because I thought this was really neat. I'm going to probably say his name wrong, so I apologize if I do. It's Tom. I think it's Tom Bassine. At TV Bassine, so TVBASSINE. He tweeted and I quote tweeted it, so you can find it on my Twitter. Who owns each quarter? And it was net rating by quarter. The Warriors' net rating in the third quarter is 30.7.
Good Lord.
Plus 30 points. Like that's not even fathomable. That like your net rating is plus 30.7. Like that doesn't even make sense. The Pistons third quarter net rating, which is the second worst like of any quarter on here, is a negative 25.3. So like there's only a couple others even in a quarter that are above 20. The Utah Jazz fourth quarter net rating plus 18.9. The Celtics, to no surprise to Celtics fans, fourth quarter net rating negative 14.6. So they've definitely had some struggles in closing out games, but it's really interesting to kind of flip through as we're approaching the 20 game mark for most teams. So just something kind of fun to see is how teams kind of open. And you could start to draw some things out of this, because you can see like Miami's really good in first and third quarters, and then not so great in second and fourth. And you start to think, well, they've got a really good starting five, don't have much of a bench. Does that do it? So the Lakers are, just to give you a little bit of Lakers flavor, third quarter, negative 20.3.
Sounds about right.
Rating for the Lakers. So one of the worst in the league. Really good first quarters, not so great second quarters, basically offsets. And then their fourth quarters, they're plus a little bit, plus 2.2. So yeah, just because something kind of interesting. But yeah, the Warriors plus 30.7 in the third quarter. So it's Yeah, if you're watching a Warriors game, you better be back sitting in your seat
Yeah,
when
don't miss it.
halftime ends, because they're probably gonna blow a team out at that point.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's a great place to take a break here. Speaking of halftime, we will be back later today with a bit more on everything going on in the world of the NBA. We got to talk about coaches on the hot seat. One coach who already lost his job, some more injury stuff to get into as well, and potentially a devastating one for the Denver Nuggets. So that is coming up later on today. So make sure you do subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel and ring that notification bell as well. Till then, see ya and stay safe.